Welcome, everyone. You are listening to Get Out of Your Own Way with me, April Yee, on Transformation Talk Radio. Get out of your way and get what you want through transformative self-care. I'm here to support you in getting out of your own way. So what does getting in your own way look like? Well, how about letting other people define your value and worth, ignoring your body by not taking care of yourself, and people-pleasing? These are just a few ways I've gotten in my own way. In this show, I'll share new perspectives on self-care practices so you can discover options and choices for expanding what's possible for you and your life. In each episode, I have questions for you, and when you take the time to answer them, they'll help in building up your belief about yourself. I believe that when we get good with ourselves, we get good with our lives and the world. Get Out of Your Own Way starts now. Hi, everyone. You are listening to Get Out of Your Own Way on Transformation Talk Radio, episode 13. The concepts I talk about in each episode are things I wish I learned sooner to support myself and get out of my own way. So I hope these things and ideas are coming to you when you need them. Today, we're continuing our discussion about relationships and the concepts of unconditional love and lovability, and what these things mean, why they're important, and what they look like in practice. And I'll be talking about these things in the way that my school, the Life Coach School, talks about these things, which may be different than other ways you've heard them talked about before. So, what is unconditional love and lovability? Today, instead of starting with a quote, I'll share the definitions of both concepts with you that my life coach, Brooke Castillo, the way that she defines these terms. So Brooke Castillo defines unconditional love as this unconditional love means that you feel love towards someone no matter what they do. And you do this for your own sake because it feels good. And she defines lovability this way. You don't need to do anything differently or be different to be loved more. You being loved is not about you. It's about the person loving you. So your lovability has nothing to do. Actually, let me rephrase that. So your lovability has to do with my capacity to love you. And I'll be talking about this more in a bit. And I know it may sound strange now, especially if you've only ever thought about your lovability as being all about you and how lovable you are, and not about the capacity of someone else to love you. And these concepts have been important to me, especially in romantic relationships, but they apply to all of our close relationships. So for me, when I didn't know or understand how to apply unconditional love and lovability to myself and my relationships in the way I just defined them, I created a lot of suffering for myself in my romantic relationships. So in the past, I would try to control the situation by trying to manipulate people. And I wasn't even aware that I was manipulating people. I just thought it was acting the way I was supposed to act, which was driven by the idea of getting my way or getting what I wanted. And I think some of us get confused about whether we can control people or situations because maybe in the past, we may have experienced times when it really did feel like we got the outcomes we wanted because we acted in a certain way or said something a certain way, or told someone something and they happened to comply and we did get our way. And it's probably not a great thing if that ends up happening too much when we're younger, because then when we really do think we can control people in situations, it's actually not true, but it might seem tempting to think so because it worked in the past. And so we keep doing these things that we used to do when it worked, and we wonder why it doesn't work now, or we have to multiply our efforts. And the truth is, it never works to control people or situations. We just make ourselves exhausted and experience suffering for ourselves and see the world through a lens where we feel powerless, that things never go the way we want them to go, that something must be wrong with us if we can't have what we want. But what do we have? What can we feel good about and appreciative in our lives? And when we think about our life in this way, we move away from feeling scarcity and lack, and we move towards feeling grateful, appreciative, and abundant. And because I understand now what was actually driving my desire to get what I wanted or to get my way, it was more than just the having of the outcome I wanted. It was also about what I made it mean about me if I got what I wanted. So if I got what I wanted, I made it mean that I was worthy. Someone chose me. Someone wanted to stay. Someone wanted to spend time with me. I deserved to have blank, etc. I would make it mean all those things. And so what did I make it mean when it didn't look like I was going to get my way? I made it mean I wasn't worthy or valuable, that I wasn't worth someone's time or energy, that I didn't deserve to be chosen. And that was what was really underlying my need to control and manipulate people or situations so that I could prove that I was worthy. And that's kind of deep, right? And also sad. And now I have so much compassion for my past self who believed those things and who felt that way and who didn't believe she was worthy or valuable. And I've done a lot of work to get where I am today in my beliefs about myself. And of course, it's still a work in progress, just like it is for all of us. And that's okay. And so I believe that unconditional love and lovability go hand in hand with worthiness and self approval. And so let's look at love some more. Love feels great. It's a wonderful emotion that is valuable to choose whenever you can. And not loving someone doesn't protect you. And it's tempting to think that it can protect you. So, how many of us have thought that if we just hold back our love for someone, if the relationship didn't work out, then it would hurt less? I used to think that, and it was never true for me. When a relationship I wanted didn't work out, I always felt terribly hurt, no matter how much I tried not to love that person too much. And so when you choose not to love someone because you don't want to get hurt, what you're really doing is just hurting yourself ahead of time. And this is a lesson that's taken me a long time to learn, but I think I've embodied it even more now, which is different from just intellectually understanding it. And as I've embodied it, what's changed for me is that I'm more willing to show up more authentically, to express myself the way I want to, and to choose to be all in because it feels good to me to do that. And in some of my previous relationships, I used to withhold what I was really feeling or wanting to express to the other person, partly in fear that I would be too much for them or that my feelings about them would scare them away. So I wouldn't let myself tell the truth of how I was feeling. I tried to be some version of me that was appealing and not too much by making myself small. And that definitely did not feel good to me. But I kept doing it because I thought I had to in order to keep the relationship I had. I now know that if I choose to fully express myself and someone doesn't like it, then that is not the person for me, be it in romantic relationships or with friendships. And that's good information for me to know because I want to be me in my relationships and I want to be enjoyed and liked for being me, not some false version of me. And this is also where our worthiness and self approval are powerful. When we're looking externally for worthiness and approval, we sometimes can contort ourselves to fit into situations with people, even when it doesn't align with us. And we can get good at lying to ourselves or convincing ourselves that this situation is what we want in order to feel worthy and to seek approval. And we can get to the point where we're not disappointing others, but we're disappointing ourselves. And if we have the choice to disappoint others or to disappoint ourselves, I will always choose to disappoint others because the cost of not disappointing others is disappointing myself. And when we've disappointed ourselves for too long, it can add up to a huge expense. And so, in fact, loving never hurts. Loving is the opposite of hurt. And if you love someone and let's say they cheat on you or lie to you or say something horrible, it's not the love you have for them that hurts. What hurts is the meaning you give to the thing that they did. So your feelings of betrayal hurt. The love never hurts, and the love never caused the hurt. So loving someone never hurts, no matter what they do. It's actually the lack of love that hurts. And withholding love doesn't protect you or hurt someone else. It only hurts you when you withhold your own love. So if you say they don't deserve my love, that's just denying yourself the feeling of love. Because really, you are the only one who feels your love. Love is an emotion, it's a vibration in your body. And so you feel it. Love doesn't jump out of your body and into someone else's body. So your love is your feeling. And so even when you act loving towards someone else, they don't feel your love. They interpret your actions towards them as a thought, and then they feel whatever it is they feel because our thoughts create our feelings. And it may be love or it may be something else for them. And this is why you can genuinely feel something for someone and they don't experience it that way. And this is why someone can love you and you don't feel the same way about them. So you create all your own feelings and the other person creates all their own feelings. And that's it. So denying your feelings for someone else doesn't really make sense, right? And if this is true, and I believe it is, why would we ever want to choose to feel anything other than love? And so coming back to unconditional love. Unconditional love means that you feel love towards someone no matter what they do. And you do this for your own sake because it feels good for you. And what most of us do is deny ourselves love when someone doesn't do something you want them to do. It's like that idea of you taking poison, hoping the other person will die. And it's also like, I don't like what you did, so I'll punish myself by feeling negative emotions about it and reacting in a negative way toward you. I want to offer that this is always optional. We don't have to put conditions on our love. We don't have to deny ourselves that feeling when someone doesn't follow our manual for them. And I talked about manuals in the previous episode, so you can check that out if you want to learn more about the manuals we have. We get to feel love no matter what the other person does, if we want to. And I think it's such a great choice. And it doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries and we don't leave when it's necessary. It just means that we don't have to feel hate or anger while doing it. We don't have to react. And people make mistakes sometimes and do things we might consider hurtful from a place of their own pain. And we can hate them for doing it or love them as humans who are experiencing pain. And the phrase, I love you no matter what, is an amazing thing to say and to hear. And that is unconditional love. I love you no matter what. And I experienced this for myself a few years ago. I was going through a challenging experience and feeling very defeated and hopeless at the time. And the voice that has come to me during other challenging times in my life, I think of her as my future self or my higher self. said these words to comfort me. I love you no matter what. Like, even though you feel ashamed right now, I love you no matter what. Even though this is really hard for you, I love you no matter what. Even though you're choosing this hard thing, I love you no matter what. Even though you think you should know better, I love you no matter what. And that comforted me so deeply. I think I cried even more at hearing those words. And when I need to feel comforted, I tell myself those words now. So I might say, even though I don't yet have this thing I want, I love myself no matter what. Even though I messed that up, I love myself no matter what. Even though this is still hard for me, I love myself no matter what. And I'm not sure I realized at the time that it was unconditional love, but I realize it now. And I think it changed other aspects of my relationship with myself as well. After that night, I started to feel more sturdy in my worthiness and my acceptance of myself. I started to see how valuable my own approval was compared to seeking it from others. And over time, I've strengthened these aspects even more just by going through life experiences and lived experiences that have happened in my life the past few years. And as my belief in my worthiness strengthened, I also started showing up differently. I think this is when I started to show up being all in for me, to listen to what is true for me, to recognize what my needs are, to admit them to myself, and to allow myself to be even more fully me, and to really just learn who I am and who I want to be and how I want to show up in the world, and then to allow myself to do that. And I think there was an incident maybe a couple years ago now where I was, starting to talk to someone and engaging in a potentially new relationship with them. And something happened where I didn't hear from them for like a day or so. And I was used to getting a text message from him maybe every day or at least a couple times a day. And so I thought that he had decided that he wanted to stop talking to me or seeing me or was not interested in me anymore. And so when I thought that he no longer accepted me, then I did this really normal but ridiculous thing where I took away my acceptance of me. So it was almost like if he doesn't accept me, then there's something wrong with me and I don't accept me either because I make it mean, oh, I must have been too much of this, too little of that. I wasn't this enough. I wasn't that enough. And so I made it mean something was wrong about me. And now it's like, I know that I can always accept myself no matter what. And so even if someone takes away, even if I think someone else takes away their acceptance of me, I can still choose to accept me. And I hadn't even realized that I was taking away my own acceptance and love from myself when I thought someone else took their love and acceptance away from me. And that was really powerful for me to just become aware of and recognize because now I can always make a different choice. And I think maybe in the past, it was automatic that I would take away love and acceptance from myself when I thought someone else did. And now it's almost automatic that I still hold and maintain my love and acceptance for myself, even if someone changes their mind about me. And so this brings us to consider lovability. So you don't need to do anything differently or be different to be loved more. And here's why. You being loved is not about you. It's about the person loving you. And I mentioned this earlier, but your lovability has to do with my capacity to love you and not the other way around. So, for example, think of a rose. It's a flower that's been a symbol of our love, of love in our culture and society. How lovable is a rose? Well, it depends on who loves it, right? And there are some people who love roses and some people who don't. But that doesn't change whether the rose is lovable or not. And so the same is true about you. So if your parents didn't love you, it was because they didn't have the capacity to love you. Your lovability is absolute. If you don't love me, that's a reflection of you, not me. Does that make sense? So if you don't love a rose, we're not going to blame the rose for not being lovable. And that's the same for you too. If someone doesn't love you, we're not going to blame you for not being lovable. And the same is true if you are loved tremendously. It's an indication of the person who's loving you, not you. So you are as lovable as the person's ability to love. And you don't need to do anything differently or be different to be loved more. There is nothing you can do to become more lovable. The only thing that can change how much someone loves you is their ability, decision, and capacity to love you. So we can relax. You are as lovable as you ever will be, and you always have been. So let's look at your relationship with yourself in terms of lovability. So if what I shared already is true, then your relationship with yourself is based on your thoughts about you. So let's look at this. One, you are 100% lovable, and there's nothing you have to do to be more worthy of love. Two, if you don't love yourself, it's a reflection of your choice to love yourself, not your lovability. You are the object of your love, but your lovability will be dependent on your willingness and capacity to love yourself unconditionally. And three, how you treat yourself is a reflection of your thoughts about yourself. And I've talked about this before in the 3 pillars of transformative self-care. Pillar 1 being how we think about ourselves, pillar 2 being how we speak to and about ourselves, and pillar 3 being how we treat ourselves. And how we think about ourselves will impact how we speak to and about ourselves and how we treat ourselves. So having a strong relationship with yourself is really just a commitment to think kind and supportive thoughts about yourself. And it sounds a little easy, right? But for many people, this is pretty hard. And it's because our brains are conditioned to look for the bad and to judge. And we spend so much of our brain energy judging ourselves that we don't have enough energy left to really love ourselves on purpose. And that, that's a choice. Loving ourselves on purpose is a choice that we can choose. And it's an unconscious habit that can be tricky to break when we're constantly judging ourselves and looking for the bad in ourselves. And society doesn't support it that much either. My life coach gives this example. So when she goes out into the world and says, I'm amazing, people look at her funny. They think she's bragging or being stuck up. But to her, bragging is saying, I'm better than you. And she's not really saying that at all. What she's saying is that she's amazing. She's also saying that you're amazing. And she really does believe that. And she feels good to know that. And she offers that, and I believe this too, that we are all amazing and we can choose to spend more time talking about how amazing we are and less time talking about how we are not amazing. So our opinion of ourselves can be very high and our opinion of others can be high too. And my life coach also offers this. Her opinion of herself is high, but not because she created herself. Her opinion of herself is high because she didn't create herself. So she can't take credit for her amazingness. Whatever created her gets that credit, but she can take responsibility for recognizing it. And she will, and she does. And because of this, she has an amazing relationship with herself. She doesn't spend time arguing and putting herself down. She spends time loving, encouraging, and acknowledging herself. And she says it's a lot more fun and that she highly recommends it. and I do too. So are you open to thinking about yourself in this way as well? That you are amazing and that you don't have to judge yourself or think anything badly about yourself? I mean, what's the downside of it? I don't think there is one. And I've been practicing this way of being in relationship with myself more because I feel and see the value in it. And based on what I shared before, you can tell that my relationship with myself in the past wasn't very good. I disregarded myself in order to please other people or try to please other people. I disappointed myself so that I wouldn't disappoint others. And when this is our standard operating procedure with ourselves, we can see how we degrade our relationship with ourselves or keep our relationship at a low level. So, with these concepts of unconditional love, lovability, worthiness, and self approval, we can bolster our relationship with ourselves and with others. And I'll just repeat the definitions I shared at the beginning of the episode so you can hear them again. Unconditional love means that you feel love towards someone no matter what they do. You do this for your own sake because it feels good. And you can feel unconditional love toward yourself too. And for lovability, you don't need to do anything differently or be different to be loved more. You being loved is not about you. It's about the person loving you. So your lovability has to do with my capacity to love you. And I'd love to hear what you think about unconditional love and lovability, along with worthiness and self-approval. So my message to you today is that we can get out of our own way by embracing these concepts of unconditional love and lovability for ourselves. We can feel their impact on us and see how it feels to apply these concepts to our relationships too, if we want to. And I believe that when we feel unconditional love for ourselves and when we understand that we are 100% lovable, we can then decide to believe that we are also 100% worthy. And when we believe this, we are more willing to seek our own approval instead of seeking others' approval. And we can allow ourselves to be who we are, love ourselves for who we are, and allow ourselves to be loved for who we are. And then we can feel this way and do this for others too. So, how might engaging with ourselves and others like this help us show up in our lives differently? I'm so glad you joined me for this episode of Get Out of Your Own Way. To go even deeper, join me for Self-Care Sundays, monthly drop-in sessions, where you can find out more about them at thehealingmodalities.com. You can also sign up for my weekly Self-Care Seeds newsletter there. Join me again for Get Out of Your Own Way every other Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central, and 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. Next time on Get Out of Your Own Way, I'll be talking about boundaries and how we can learn what they are for ourselves, how to set them, communicate them, and maintain them. In the meantime, are you aware of the boundaries you want to have in order to take care of yourself? And if you're aware of them, have you communicated them to others? And if you've communicated them, have you been able to maintain them? Until next time, have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. You have been listening to Get Out of Your Own Way. Get out of your way and get what you want through transformative self-care with me, April Yee. Tune in every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. In each episode, I present you questions that support you in building up your beliefs about yourself. To connect with me or for more information, you can email me at thehealingmodalities@gmail.com or visit my website, thehealingmodalities.com. See you soon.